From the mysteries of the universe to the mysteries of the unknown, this is Mysterious Realms with Mr. Cyber. Here is your host, Mr. Cyber.
Hey crew, good afternoon today. It's a pleasure to be with you. I am Mr. Cyber, aka Elijah, and this is Mysterious Realms. Today we're going to be talking to Ashira. It's going to be a pretty good show. We're going to be talking about aliens and stuff. So anything is on the table today. It should be really interesting because aliens, UFOs, conspiracies, you name it, are so fascinating. And this is a topic I personally have loved, and I know many people out there love this topic as well. So without further ado, I would like to introduce everybody to Ashira. Hey, Ashira, how are you today?
I'm doing fine, Elijah. How about yourself?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thank you for joining me. And just so everybody knows, I put a there's a big Facebook group out there, and I kept seeing your name, and you finally reached out to me. And I know we talked a little bit before we did this show, and I just love some of your story. And just the whole alien, UFO, you know, everything. There's so much that's wrapped around this topic. And I think first things first, I believe you had a personal experience with aliens or UFOs. Is that correct?
Yes, I have. And I'm a daughter of John Lear. He posited me on Coast to Coast AM one night. If you've seen one, you've been on one. I've seen 4 of them. But my last experience was behind Sunrise Mountain, Las Vegas, Nevada. I come out of Home Depot, and there's this giant saucer which dwarfed a superliner, and it followed me home. My niece had seen it, so I do a little mushroom ceremony. I'm kind of into psychedelics, and consciousness is everything to these people.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how I contact them to begin with. It's like a radio wave that goes in all directions from the top of your head. So I wake up in the middle of the night, and I see a red and blue pill on my forehead, in my third eye. And then about sunrise, about an hour before sunrise, there's this orb come over from Nelson Air Force Base and floated off towards Sedona, and I started having out-of-body experiences. I started seeing saucers in the sky, the night sky, in my dreams. And I'd walk out and turn my cell phone on, capture it on infrared video. So, and they are here, and they're here now, and they want disclosure in a real big way. That whether God, like, we've always had this demonic outlook, like Independence Day with with Will Smith is like, that's what we're up against. We're really not up against that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
we're not up against those kind of people, that kind of technology, or that kind of thinking. That they are the Pleiadians, and the Anunnaki War was what destroyed this planet in ancient India and Afghanistan. They still have radioactive readings out there in that part of the world that are off the charts. In the Pleiadian Anunnaki War, they withdrew. The Pleiadians withdrew, and the Draco and the Insecto Orion, the Draco Alliance and the Insecto Orion Alliance are what control humanity today. It's about 1.52% of the population actually controls everything on the planet.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty deep.
Well, I figured it was deep because it's so going back to history, and I think everybody, no matter what you believe, no matter what you think, I think we can all agree that throughout history, even ancient history, going back to the drawings they made, if you know what I'm talking about, like on the rocks inside the caves, or you got the pyramids and all these things. Aliens have been around for a long time. But now the question is, are they taking on a bigger role, whether it's within governments, whether they're blending in with the population? What's your opinion on what's going on? Do you think there's an ultimate goal with the aliens, or what their end game is per se?
The people I work with they're affiliated with the Galactic Federation. I call them the Interstellar Galactic Guardian Group, and my official title with these people, who you want to call them, they fly coke vehicles. off-road vehicles. Is actually Galactic Ground Crew Commander. I got that in 2018 through this conscious connection, which could be described as a long-distance Vulcan mind meld. You know, consciousness goes on forever, like a radio wave does. And I was like, one day, I was having issues in my life, and I got to Cathedral Gorge. I'm like, we need some help down here. We have some help. We have some help. Now it's early 2016, and I actually had an abduction experience in 2016 of May, about the last week, where that UFO come over. It was over Home Depot at Charleston and Lamb in East Las Vegas, and I'm the only guy that saw it.
Yeah.
You know, the litmus test, everybody else was looking at a cell phone. I didn't have a cell phone. I'm looking up, and I'm like, hey, man, look up. So the ulterior motive is to release the shackles on humanity, you know, and these are people. The ones we're dealing with now are echoed in the Bible. They shall take on the form of man. And I have this book right here, The Granite Starship, and page 83 is marked for a reason, and this is what we're up against right here. These lizards manifest themselves in the physical form of humans or briefly as other animals. They maintain that form by ingesting the genetic materials of humans, using the form of very young, genetically fresh live children or babies, human sacrifices. And what we're dealing with right now, these are time walkers, all right? They're time walkers. They'll go back in time using adrenochrome. And basically what they do, and they even give themselves away, like The Fabulous Life of Benjamin Butman starring Brad Pitt is what they do to their bodies, you know. Now, and it's really a time lock. We're stuck in a time loop. While these guys walk through time, we all died 100 years and we have to come back again. So the paradigm, the message I'm working on with two other men on the planet right now, Benjamin Fulford and Tim Emsley out of Australia, is disclosure of the paradigm control and the handlers of humanity. And they got us right now by an economic trap, a social trap, and even a war trap.
Wow.
It's pretty deep. They've been here since the time Egypt fell, and Moses, he brought the people out of Egypt. It's like Egypt stands as the day it fell. The last plague was the rain of fire, and it wasn't a big convoy like they did on the Ten Commandments. They actually grabbed a bug out bag and ran for the hills.
Yeah.
But it was God. It was God being pissed off about these skinwalkers, these time walkers, using sex in ancient Egypt. I just described it to you, and sacrificing children at the altar there at the Giza pyramid.
Well, you know what? So is this something? So you always hear about reptilians. That's a pretty common term nowadays. Is this kind of what we're discussing? Is this what you think the whole reptilian thing is?
Yeah, they have the reptilian DNA, and some of them are actually really live shapeshifters. They can change form from person to person, and how that's done is deep black magic. It's called the wine press. It's even in the Bible. Yeah. It's a 5-gallon bucket about 6 feet tall. It's a heated wine press, and it takes every molecule that makes you, and they mix it with some kind of Slurpee straw, and they drink it down. It takes about 36 to 48 hours to become you. It's a certain kind of blood type, Rh negative. Has to be a negative blood type, and Rh negative is actually a reptilian hybrid. That's what I could find out. Yeah, they give you everything you need to put the puzzle together, but you got to be able to understand the puzzle pieces.
I gotcha.
It boggles the mind, Elijah. It boggles the mind, and we're locked into a technology lock like Tesla. He's got these Tesla stations built as cars. There's a better way on a tandem axle trailer. You know, he just released an 18-wheeler, a really fancy one. You know,
I saw that. That was, I remember I saw the keynote presentation. I think it was like a year and a half ago or so, in those big semis that Elon Musk showed off. The future of the semi.
Elon Musk, he's one of them. They love money over everything else and convenience. You know, we just talked about the 40-year battery out of Japan. Yeah. They love money over everything else. Now, there's a system I've been working on. I got from my contacts above. The tandem axle drive is the front 2 wheels will power and drive the back 2 wheels. And you never have to stop for a filling station ever. And you have magnetic brushes where, like, the brush goes away as magnetically driven. Yeah. Maintenance is almost zero, you know. And he's got this semi goes 500 miles on one charge. Well, What if it trips 800 miles?
Exactly. That's exactly
You know?
right. Wow,
And does it run as strong at the beginning of the charge as it does at the end of the charge? Because I have cordless batteries on my drills, and they get down to no charge, they don't work anymore. You know?
well, yeah.
And I'm kind of wondering what is he thinking right now? You know, what's he thinking? And he's got to be thinking something other than what he's doing.
Hey, I wanted to go back, Ashira, on one thing here. So we talked about like child sacrifice with the whole alien thing. Have you ever heard of, I'm sure you have, a little place in Northern California called Bohemian Grove?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that is essentially a place, for those individuals out there who don't know. This is a place where like the top elite meet secretly, and they have a secret ceremony at the end where they sacrifice it's like a fake child. It's an effigy of a child.
Yeah.
And I know this is quite a few years ago. Alex Jones infiltrated Bohemian Grove undercover. And everyone doubted him until he released the footage and made a full documentary. And you can see it right there. All these famous people that no one would even believe would be there were there. What do you think that whole sacrificing the child, even though it's not a real child they're sacrificing, it's an effigy, but what's your take on that? What do you think that's about?
Well, first off, we don't know if it's an effigy or not. This is Skull and Bones we're working with right now. Skull and Bones out of Yale.
Yeah, that's a deep secret society.
Yeah, and that's Skull and Bones. Is the Octagon Society is involved in that too. And those are the two main player character networks I'm working with right now. And they do the live child sacrifice. What they do, they'll take a 6-year-old boy or girl, usually brown, dark skin, O positive, AB positive, and it's RH negative. It plugs into it like a socket does into a wall.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like that in the DNA realm. They'll beat it, usually sexually assault to a half an inch of its life, cut its head off, drink its blood, sell the organs on the black market, and eat its brains and give the rest to us back in the food chain. And you can find that online on YouTube. If you put adrenochrome harvesting, you'll come up with Rabbi Finkelstein, Forced Human Cannibalism, where he posits we feed our children to your breakfast, lunch, and dinner at McDonald's. And then they do that, and it's weird, but it's out there, and it's shocking, but it's something I've been tasked to deal with as Galactic Ground Crew Commander, is wrangle this stuff up. I'm a lead contactee. I got the heavy load. I got the heavy load and the heavy information. It's hard to believe, but anything I tell you about, you want a question, I'll give you a site off of YouTube or Facebook. Somebody I work with, I draw off their information to parallel my information. Sounds like a wacko.
Well, you know what? So going back, I don't mean. Oh, sorry, Share. Go ahead.
Let me finish up. The FDA, I put adrenochrome harvesting into YouTube. The FDA said it was not a good idea to inject young people's blood into your body. And the FDA knows about it, but the mainstream America don't know about it.
Yeah, well, that's true. And so I just want to go back really quick to Bohemian Grove. I heard this, and this was actually very interesting. So when Alex Jones infiltrated that, they said apparently some insiders knew that he was infiltrating it, but they didn't say anything, and they didn't sacrifice a real child. So they substituted that real child for an effigy, so he couldn't capture. Okay, so essentially he couldn't say, oh my gosh, it's a real kid. It's just a ceremony. But other people saying, when he's not undercover that one time, the rest of the times they actually do use a real child. Do you believe that's a possibility?
Yeah, it's a possibility. I remote view, and that's a bona fide CIA tactical advantage. And I remote viewed a younger bushling doing a 6-year-old girl in the shower, and it was on October 19th, 2019. I'd rather not say where it was at, but it was in the Pacific Northwest. Yeah, between the Continental Divide and Seattle. There's innocent people up there, and there's people up there that do that kind of shit. It's a mixed community, and I've seen it with my own third eye, my astral traveling, my astral projection, and I woke up on the morning of 10/19/2019. There's this younger bush lady. I ran into her one time in my life, and she's got the 6-year-old girl in a shower in a crotchless like panty set, and it looked like to me they're getting ready to sacrifice it. And that's how they do it. I just explained to you what they do. They bring it to an inch of its life and harvest the organs, the blood, and the brains because of the high iron content and the higher adrenochrome content. And all that. I've seen this adrenochrome in my remote viewing technique, and it shines silver underneath artificial light. And that's because it has so much adrenaline in it. It actually shines silver, not red. I've never witnessed it in person, but you can go to YouTube and find it.
Yeah.
Adrenochrome harvesting and human cannibalism is out there too. And I believe, and we just talked about a minute ago, the fabulous life of Benjamin Button is like the Illuminati got to tell you what they're going to do. They got to tell you what they're going to do. If you can be deceived, you deserve to be deceived. And that's how they walk their life. So if it wise enough to catch the little triggers and little flag points on the journey, you put the whole puzzle together, it becomes rather grotesque and oppressive.
Well, I know you and I spoke before this show just about a few things, and oh my gosh, what was I just talking about? Oh, wow, that's just great. I had a brain fart. Oh my gosh.
Bohemian Grove and Alex Jones in the effigy, and if they really do it or not.
Yeah, but there was something else. Oh my gosh, what was I going to say? Well, it could have been that important. It's so I know you sent me a couple videos. It looked like those were UFOs in the sky that I saw.
Yeah, they come out. They come out of Area 51, Groom Lake. S6 is out there, and there's an alien. There's a guy named 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗦𝗓. He's a tall gray.
Yeah.
He said he left a few years back, but I'm not sure if he left or not. 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗦𝗓 is actually my great grandson. I got that from the ET command too, and he is the after effect of a nuclear war, World War III.
Yeah.
It mutated the DNA so bad that we stopped being human. We stopped being human.
You know what? I remember what my question was. So talking about the Illuminati and all this control, I've noticed, and you can agree with this, I'm sure, if they implemented and rolled this out so fast, people would see it and put a stop to it, or try to put a stop to it. But they roll it out so slowly that nobody really detects it or sees it happening.
Excuse me. Bad now, so I can do it here.
You're good.
Well, yeah. They roll out the technology information. It's kind of like they're trying to ease humanity into a really, really comfortable case of cognitive dissonance,
Yeah.
Because when it comes out that a million children go missing a year in North America to feed that addiction. It's even in the Bible where Gabriel was talking to Daniel, and they're like, "What happens when God takes a daily sacrifice away? Will we get everything back? We get the information, our lives back, and our children back."
Mm-hmm.
So, going further into that little thing there, fuck, I just got a brain fart too. Brain fart, I just got one too. I run on sometimes, and I get lost in my own thoughts.
Man, you know what? Because there's so much information. There's so much crap and so much shit happening that it's hard for us to wrap our heads around it. And when I try to think of one thing, there's something else, and there's something else, and it just keeps going, and you don't know where to start because it's so fucking confusing.
The rabbit hole. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a rabbit hole, and the rabbit trailing us. It's like they'll start, you'll start focusing on one thing, then, to the left, here's a sleight of hand, something else, and your mind gets off of this, what you were just thinking about. There's so many distractions going on that it's like, they don't want us to see it. They do, but they don't. It's like, what the hell, is going on?
Well, it's a fear-based mechanism, a lack of mechanism they work with. And if you're worried about your child going missing or paying your bills, you don't have time to work on yourself. Other countries have disclosed human meat in the food chain. Canada came out a few years back. I remember hearing it on Coast to Coast AM. And I cut my teeth on Coast to Coast AM, Art Bell years. And I went on to John B. Wells and listened to the Hdgson report and Steve Quayle.
Mm-hmm.
They all have pertinent information to the puzzle. But Subway sandwich shops in Canada had human meat in the food chain, and they pulled it. They took it apart and they stopped it.
Wow.
You know, it's there. It's there. You just have to somebody has to stumble across it and bring it to the press's attention.
But the question is, if someone brings it to their attention, will the press run with it? But here's my thing. The press, there's a lot of good people in the press, all right? But it's not the regular people working in the press. It's the superiors in the directions they're given. Because if I'm a lower regular press person and I'm like, hey, let's report this. And like, no, but if I want to, I'm afraid I'm going to get fired. So I'll shut my mouth and cover something, a whole different story.
That'd be Operation Mockingbird, a CIA operation where they control the flow of information to the people. That's what that's called right there. That's an operation. They have the CIA usually the lead anchorman or some of the press, the guy at the press desk, the guy that controls the narration of the stories that go out onto the public.
Yeah.
And you can research that on YouTube and Facebook, even on Google. You'll find it there, but you won't find it at the 9 o'clock news. They're telling you about it.
Well, have you ever noticed with the news? So there was somebody on YouTube, and I was just laughing my ass off. They took all these different news feeds from all the local news, okay? Like your 6 p.m. evening news on your local CBS or ABC or NBC. And they took these videos from all around the country, the local news, and they're given the same script.
Yeah, that was Alex Jones. That was Alex Jones way back in the day, man. It was called the 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 Project. I've seen the same clip, man, and I thought it was a bunch of shit too. So I saw Channel 13 News and something about it, do the same thing. I'm like, holy fuck, it's real. It's real. They gave a script and they gave the morning line, the morning leads, so is what they go off of. I've seen the very same one, man. It's crazy.
So
Alex
it's like
Jones was right.
Yeah, he was right. And I just saw Alex Jones on another podcast, a big video podcast on YouTube, and these guys that interviewed him, he sat around with, always thought he was crazy, okay? And as he was talking, this was like a 3-hour-long podcast, so they're just sitting in a room with these funny young guys, like in their 20s. And they always laughed at him, but when they got done with the interview, they were like, Alex Jones is the most humble, easygoing person. He has a good personality, and you know what? Everything he said years ago, people thought were crazy, but are now coming to light to become, known as being true.
Yeah, well, he had his 2 shows, Prison Planet and InfoWars, and it's Information Wars, a war for your mind. He ain't shitting about that, man.
No, he ain't shitting about it. I mean, it is a war on our minds. It absolutely is.
Yeah, it's about education and enlightenment, and I think when the American public realizes that a good portion of the children go missing, like in third world countries, they don't come with birth certificates like they do in this country.
Oh yeah, they don't. They sure don't.
Yeah, and that's a tracing. That's a tracer. So when children go missing out of the village in South America, they go missing forever. And they come up to this Evergreen company that the Clintons own. A Mayfair, you can buy a damn. Who wants to overnight a chest of drawers? And there's a key right there. Mayfair will overnight you a chest of drawers with some girl's name. You open up, and there's an emaciated girl in the damn thing. And I learned that through driving down traveling on a Greyhound last summer between Indianapolis and Chicago. And this lady's like, she told me about it. I seen that. I seen that in my vision. I seen a Mayfair. I seen a fucking Evergreen. Excuse me, I stopped the F-bomb.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's a podcast. Cool, you're good.
All right. My superior's like, hey man, make us look good, all right? I got a vision about, vents underneath the tandem axles to brush fresh air up in these 18-wheelers, man. I'm like, holy fuck, it's real. They are kicking children from South America all the way up to Montana and probably into Canada and doing that sacrifice thing. And it's insane and it's crazy, but what can you do about it? You can't kill yourself over. You can't go out and kill them all because it's against the law. You just have to kind of like live with it, man.
So do you think all of this stuff has a connection with aliens and extraterrestrials?
I'm very sure it does. The people above, they're highly against it, and they're so set up so well. They want us to, like, we are the ones we waited for. We let ourselves get into this quagmire somehow by being put to sleep. So it's up to us to help ourselves.
Yeah.
We are the ones we waited for. So it's people like me, Benjamin Fulford, Tim Emsley, Warren Pritchard, their spiritual advisor on YouTube. A couple other ones, 990, who does a hell of a translation of the Bible, would actually translate the Bible. The ETs are in the Bible, and they are in the Bible.
So I'll tell you something here, Ashira. So I'm a Christian, okay? And I can tell you this. Yes, there are extraterrestrials in the Bible, and those who say there aren't have not read the Bible clear enough or closely enough.
No.
Because, you could talk to any pastor pretty much, and they'll tell you, yes, it's right there in front of your eyes. It's God's word. He tells you right there they are real. It's like, what part of that don't you understand? It's like you're taking the words out, but I don't care, if you're not a Christian, if you are, whatever you want to believe is fine. But especially if you're a Christian and you follow the Bible, God in the Bible specifically says, do not take away from my word. So why are you taking away the alien or extraterrestrial references?
Well, it's a mistranslation. It happened right around during the printing press era with Pope Gregory and Constantine.
Yeah.
Our saving grace of Pope Francis came out a few years back. He said we should consider ET as our brothers, and he's right about that. So he's on the team. I've had business about him being on the team. The biblical, you have to look at Ezekiel. That silver sheet with the corners turned into it. It looks like a saucer,
mm-hmm.
and it also could be an octagon too. If you take, the 4 plus 4 sides, you turn the corners of a silver sheet inward. It's a flying machine that comes out of the sky, and he's talking about it in Ezekiel chapter 1. It's right there. You have to use your imagination, because people think, there's a floating blanket up there, and it's all wilded up in the sun and in the wind, and the 4 corners turn inward.
Well, it's clear as day, right there.
Yeah, it's Ezekiel. He's writing it down in Ezekiel, and that's probably one of the first alien invasions we had. Ezekiel was an 8-year-old boy who wrote that book.
Yeah,
and I was that boy. I wrote Ezekiel. I was 8 years old. I went back in time in Gig Harbor, Washington State. And I find myself 8-year-old Ezekiel, a girl named Sophia was 17, and she was going to marry me. And Noah had left us behind during the first deluge because of people like that on planet Earth were being, it was called grooming.
Very familiar with that term from the news. Yeah, the whole grooming process.
Well, she was 17 years old when I was 8, and she was grooming me to be a good husband or what it was, but they turned into pedophilia somehow,
Yeah.
But I turned my mind into a time traveling device. I've been back in time 17,000 years, back to 77,000 years, and that was actually 308,000 years ago from 2016 that the first deluge actually happened, the very first flood. And then you have back to ancient Egypt, 616,000 years. And you double that twice. Let me get my calculator out. And it's a significant number in the book, too. They always point to it as the mark of the beast, and an important number in the book we work with called the Bible. It's
666.
Yeah, 6 means 2 times 6 plus 6. All right, let me times 2 here. 1232. 1232. And that's an important number. And that takes us all the way back to the Wall of China, where the walls were built to keep the Nephilim out of our country from eating the 30-meter giants from eating our children.
And you know what? I'm glad you said that, because the Nephilim, a lot of people are like, oh, that's not real. No. You know what? Even the people that don't believe in the Bible, like, archaeologists and stuff, they found them already.
𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪🐬, he is a good man. He's on top of the Giants big time. They're the Lovelock Giants, who are 12 and 10 feet tall, a male and a female, redheads.
Yeah.
It's a market cane. And it's the Lovelock Giants. They found them. It's Lovelock, Nevada. They found them. The local farmers are getting the back poop, the back corner, and there's bodies down here. And where those bodies went, I don't fucking know. I don't have no idea. The Smithsonian has a pretty good record taking those kind of digs and make them go away. You know.
Oh, that's absolutely right.
Absolutely. You look at the 30-meter giants, and the Great Wall of China was not built overnight. It took a massive construction effort. It was actually built to keep the giants, the Nephilim, out of their land.
Well, if you think about it, the Great Wall of China, look at the size, or especially the height of it. You think I'm going to build something that tall to keep a person out? No, that thing's freaking tall.
Yeah, and these guys could take a regular city block wall and just hop over it, man. You know, even a 10-foot wall, and they step right over it, no problem, one stride. And L.A. Marzulli, if you ever get a chance, to any of the listeners want to find out about this stuff, go on to YouTube or Google or even Facebook and put L.A. Marzulli, Mars, Z-U-L-L-I, and you'll find your answers right there. Another good one is Daryl Clark. Daryl Clark is one of my sources. He talks about the Nephilim, the giants, and the Anunnaki-Pleiadian War. Mm-hmm. We are the Pleiadians. We are the Pleiadians. The human, the white race, are the Pleiadians. It's a word magic game. Pleiadian. Yeah. Palladian. You know, it's a word magic, and that's even in everyday language. Like I deciphered Johnsonville brats to Johnsonville brats. I get a dream about gingerbread children dancing in the street made out of sausage meat. So that takes us back to the adrenochrome, the child sacrifice. It's a real deal, and can people get through that? I mean, I've seen it happen while I'm sleeping, you know, and I get up in the middle of the night, in the middle of the morning, in the middle of the afternoon. I'm disturbed over it, man. I used to be a little boy, you know, and it could have been me once, you know. It could have been anybody. Oh, that's absolutely right. It could have. Shoot, hell, it could have been me. Yeah, that's how you got to look at it. You look at it like that, and you get a whole new perspective. Like, and people are like, that never happened in my life. Well, wait till it does. Shit, yeah. No, okay. Wait till one of your extended relatives goes away, you know. And you talked about your dad being a police officer. Yeah, retired police officer now. Yeah. Well, your family's protected, and the FBI families are protected. What about the friends of the friends of the friends of the FBI family that come over for Christmas and barbecue? What if one of their children goes missing? You know, what happens to that? I mean, someday it's going to happen to somebody big. They're going to lose their child. It's going to be a manhunt. They're going to find these people with a child, you know? Well, yeah, they will. I've never thought about it that way. You know, until they do it, until they take somebody or a child or a relative of somebody really big, it's going to take is mess with the wrong person. And hell's going to break loose. Yeah, now they deal with poor black people in the country and poor Mexicans, and Montana has the highest rate of young Native American women going missing and children going missing every year. I mean, it's like they don't know where the bodies go either. You know? Well, it's like they vanish. It's like they vanish into thin air. And there was I'm glad you brought that up, because there was I forget the guy's name. I'm going to have to look it up again. Paul something, I believe. But he did a series called The Missing 311. And it's about all these missing people that go missing in national parks, and nobody knows what happens to them. That's actually David Paulides. That's right, David. Not Paul. David Paulides. That's right. That's right. Missing 411. Missing 411. Yeah, and he has a couple cases that I've seen actually was like beam me up, Scotty. You know, he can't. It has to be that way. You know, and some of these people have gone missing. MIT physicist students. You know, they're like going to write a big paper on the new physics of like the Higgs boson, and then they're a minority. Like one girl went missing in the phone's on. Well, it's like somebody really smart who figured it out, writing a paper, and then they go missing. Yeah, and they're missing without a trace. What happened? There's no DNA, no clothes, no nothing. Yeah, you know what? It can't be a coincidence. It's always the people that are always coming up with the answers and have figured it out. Well, they're either being taken out of it. I mean, there's not even a sign of a struggle. I mean, they walk along the trail and the footsteps stop. Yeah. You know, and there's no sign of struggle or nothing, no sign of foul play. So these people are actually being taken up. They're actually experiencing an Enoch experience, where they're being taken up by these ETs and being held back for the dawn of the new age, or they're going to another place to teach. You know, another pre-Earth, like back in when Jesus arrived, the Meshua, the Hopi prophecy was like the equivalent to the Jesus Christ we work with now in the Bible.
Yeah.
You know, and the Navajo and the Hopi prophesied the Mashiach was just a word for messenger. And he talked about the World Wide Web being formed. He gave examples like wagons with iron tires and wagons with wheels, iron steel wheels as far as the freight train, and wagons with wings on them, eagle's wings being the airplanes and stuff. And the World Wide Web would be, he talked about the whole world being covered with a spider web, and you have a Wi-Fi web and a Google web and a blacktop web where there's a road in every direction. So that being said, the aliens are here. They're here, and we are them too in a strange kind of way.
No, most definitely. Most definitely. Well, what gets me is, you have all these sightings. I mean, and so many that they can't be denied anymore. I mean, even the U.S. Navy and Department of Defense have now admitted to it. And you can see this on YouTube. I mean, they come out publicly and they've officially said, yeah, and they've released some footage of like a Tic Tac UFO and all these different clips. And the UFO, then essentially the U.S. Navy admits this already. And I'm pretty sure they know a lot more about this, but there's only so much they're giving us, and it's that part of that little trickle out, I believe. Like, hey, we're not going to give you everything. We just want to let you know, but they know what it is, but they don't, because they come back and say, well, we're not sure what this is. What do you mean you're not sure? You know damn right what the hell it is, Navy.
Well, you got to think about the military. It's being used as an offensive weapon. It's also a defensive weapon,
Mm-hmm.
and some of these people are taught that the aliens are actually our enemies by this 1.25% of the world handlers were actually humanity's enemies. It's called brainwashing. You see a fast-moving UFO, you're supposed to go after it. Well, good luck with that.
Yeah, you really think you think our fighters are going to be able to go after that technology that's in a UFO?
Yeah, I've seen the Navy tapes on YouTube, man. They outfly all the planes. They outgun them. They don't outgun them. They outfly them. They outmaneuver them. And how come we can't compete against that? They're making fun of us right now. They're making fun of our military, too, in that regard. That respect.
They're like, you think your planes are fast. Watch this. Bam, 600 miles in less than a second.
Yeah. And my dad was in the Air Force. One of my cousins worked for NASA during the space shuttle years, and she was programmed like, hey, people don't exist, man. My dad, he was like, they exist, but I don't think they're like me, that kind of stuff.
So going back to the whole alien UFO thing, I know the Nazis back in World War II were heavily involved in this. What extent do you believe their involvement was? Do you think they worked with the aliens directly as the first ones? Do you think they created this own technology, or what do you think the whole backstory on that was? Because I know the Nazis wanted to be, dominate everything technology-wise,
yeah.
And I know they were ahead of the game when it came to technological advances.
Well, when I said I turned my mind into a time traveler device as part of my Akashic record,
Mm-hmm.
and 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 is on YouTube, and I learned a lot about my Akashic record there. And I had a family relative selling to the Catholic Church in 1938, and there was a tall gray stand next to me. And the tall grays are like the ones that brought through all this time travel and all this stuff, And then they come across the Nazi bell. What about the Nazi bell, the time traveling machine? I'm beginning to think it's actually the 1.25% of the population that never dies. That's the Nazi bell right there. It's a time warp, a time loop. Max Spears on YouTube taught me that. You can look at any interview with Max Spears, Spiers. When he died, I figured he died in August of 2016. I started a gradual jog, and now I'm like running this full sprint, and we're about around about the end of the journey, where we're going to have disclosure probably by Christmas this year.
Oh, it's coming. You know what? I've noticed that the whole opening up about UFOs and extraterrestrials, it's gaining speed. It really is. The average person may not be following it, but those of us who do, we realize that more information is coming out quicker than it ever has.
It's real funny, man. You know, I got my mom's brother, Art Smart. He don't believe in that stuff, but you talk to the average like homeless guy, they know about it. You know, I spent a lot of time on the streets. I've been homeless on and off about the 2004s.
Yeah.
And there are people out there that have nothing to believe more than the people that have everything. And those niggas that have nothing to believe in, or they just believe it. Maybe they had an experience like John Lear, who built the Lear J, said, if you've seen one, you've been on one. I've seen 4 in my lifetime.
You know what? John Lear, if you listen to his interviews, you know, or if the people that have listened to his interviews with like Art Bell or other individuals, you know, John Lear was a smart guy, the inventor of the Lear jet. And also his background as a pilot. That guy's not somebody that's going to make shit up. I mean, he's the real deal.
No.
He's the real deal.
Yeah.
And what advantage would he have of making up a story for no reason when he was already a smart guy, successful, business, you name it? Like, why the hell would you just all of a sudden be like, oh, you know, I saw this. You know, this is real. Nobody in their right mind is going to make that up unless they saw it or it happened to them.
Yeah, he probably had an experience too. That's why he remembered to say that. You know, if you've seen one, you've been on one. He probably remembered being on one. I don't remember being on one, but I'm missing time. You know, I was driving a 1989 F-150 back in very early 90s, 90 and 91 from Ely, Nevada. I got to the stretch on 318 where it kind of skirts Area 51.
Yeah.
And I'm looking out my windshield. It takes about 4 or 5 hours to get from there, point A to point B. 3 if you do about 90 the whole way. It's a long drive too, man.
Oh yeah.
Almost 500 miles, man, up to Ely from Las Vegas, Nevada. And I come over this rise. I see this silver ship in the upper left-hand corner of my windshield. And by the time I focused on it, it had gone all the way across. My eyes could hardly keep up with it to the right-hand corner of my windshield. And my truck slowed down. And I don't know what happened after that. And next thing you know, I'm in Las Vegas. And I'm drinking with my friends and family. We're having a good time. You know, it was one of the kinds of amnesia acts. They're testing humanity so you can handle that kind of contact. You know, not all these people look like humans. There's best I can say, it's gonna hurt people, but a giant cockroach that can do fucking quadrangle quantum physics in his mind.
Yeah.
And put him out. And he might not speak English, but he's gonna give you numbers are the universal language. We learned that through contact with Jodie Foster. Numbers go everywhere.
Man, I got to tell you, Shira, I loved that movie, Contact.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That was absolutely amazing.
When she gets to the other side, you see him as her dad, and he's like, we don't know who made it, man, but it's the best thing I've ever made,
Yeah, well, you know what? That part really got me because when she traveled through that wormhole and went down on that planet, you remember in that movie Contact, that figures start coming to her, even though it wasn't her dad. That being transformed into somebody that she knew to communicate with her.
To create a sense of ease, a familiarity, and it's an important factor. We have to be familiar with ourselves and be prepared to see the unfamiliar. Like with the District 9, the one aircraft was over South Africa where the guy turned an accident to it.
That movie was nuts too. District 9. Yeah,
and some of those species actually look like that. They probably do eat cat food, and we can't be like, hey man,
cat food. I tell you what, that cat food part, that made me laugh my ass off. Like cat food.
yeah. Well, what if they pull out a case of cat food and off their own ship, and we smell it and it looks like, oh no, you can't do that, man. You can't do that. But they can. They can do that, They've been space-time and have to get here.
That is wild. Another movie I find interesting, Ashira, is Interstellar. Have you seen that one with Matthew McConaughey?
No, I haven't. But oddly enough, when that ship was going to be taken over by the tsunami, I actually had relived the tsunami coming off the coast of California. And I think that was the start, one part of how we got here. It was they played it backwards. They went to another planet from here, but they actually came here from another planet and had issues and lost everything in some kind of cataclysmic event.
Yeah.
And the truth is stranger than fiction. That's for darn sure. And art often imitates life. You have to use all these cliches into your factor, because they're not just cliches; they're truth within a truth within a truth. If you look at it that way, as an observer, not a participant.
Yeah.
So my Interstellar, I only saw that one clip where Matthew McConaughey he's calling that robot over, and the robot saves the chick, man, and that brought tears to my eyes.
Dude, I tell you what, that movie. So I think their main producer of that movie, or assistant producer, is an actual theoretical physicist and scientist in real life, and they were asking Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's a very famous physicist, on his opinion, and he said they pretty much nailed that whole movie based on science, and it blows my mind. That movie, that was one of the best universal space time travel movies I've ever seen.
It's brilliant how they put it together. But I always do the what if. What if that's how the white man got here? What if that's how we all got here? They got shipwrecked and they had to start procreating. And they wrote a book about it. I look at it that way. It could very well be possible in the quantum field. The Higgs boson showed us that. I think was two particles was just in the same place at the same time. It's very possible that Interstellar could be a reverse story of how planet Earth was actually seeded with the white people.
Yeah, it could be. Oh, that's a good way to put it. It could be a reverse of the truth.
Yeah. It kind of makes you think for a minute. Because they lost that ship, and that's the only part. I only saw the clip, but they lost the one ship to the tidal wave. And Matthew McConaughey's like, go get the girl to that robot, that AI, and runs over to grabs a girl up, and they escape it somehow. They get inside of another ship. I don't recall the exact clip, but I always think about things like, what if that actually happened to us? Is how we got here.
Well, you know what's funny? That part of that movie, I found something out. So you saw that clip with the wave on the planet, right? So without giving it away, what happens is they travel through a wormhole to find another planet that can support life. And they start going to these different planets to check them out. So what they do, they have like a space station outside one of these planets, and one of the guys stays on board, and Matthew McConaughey and this other girl, they're like, hey, we'll be back in a few hours, just wait here. Well, they're close to a black hole, and they go on the planet for a couple hours. They come back to the main ship. It's 15 years later. They've been gone 2 hours, but for the guy waiting for them on the ship, it's been like 15 years. And
wow,
yeah, but that's an actual fact. That's time dilation, and that's real stuff. And it's hard to believe. But that wave on the planet, I thought that was a tidal wave. Come to find out, it's how do they say it? It's not a wave like here on Earth. It's the planet's rotating against that wave. So the wave's not moving, it's the planet that's moving. That makes it seem like it's a wave or a tsunami. It's crazy. That movie. That sounds
like a gravitonic wave. A gravitonic wave to me. Then that's the description you're giving right now.
Yeah, I believe that's what it was.
If the water's stationary and the planet's moving and creating that wave, they could actually land into a time dilating device themselves,
Well, yeah, and you're right. So the wave was stationary. It was the planet that was rotating instead of the other way around.
Yeah. That's crazy how that works, huh?
Isn't that weird? But science backs that up. That's an actual fact. That's why they had a scientist on the team to make sure everything was accurate. The only part that wasn't, which they kind of had to make up, was what's inside of the black hole. And that they kind of had to go with something interesting. But that was one of my favorite parts of the movie, was when Matthew McConaughey went into that black hole. That was so crazy. Like, he could see every part of time and space, and he could travel within time. It's so cool.
Yeah. The Akashic record that I work with goes all the way back to 1262. And that's the fuzzy part there. The China Wall and the giant Nephilim. They were doing baby sacrifice. It's in the Book of Dead. the Book of the Dead, where they're selling, magic tricks and magic potions to people who want to go through the underworld.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I posit, the last plague on Egypt with Pharaoh, Moses, was the rain of fire, and Egypt sits as the day they left it. They didn't have time to get a convoy. It was grab your bug out bag or your backpack or your clothes and run for the hills. And that was God destroying the Nephilim once with fire and floods and stuff. And the time dilation is actually, it's in the Akash. We can go through time and figure this stuff out. And I went back to the 77,000 years ago from, 308,000 years ago from 2016 was Ezekiel's first deluge. Time dilation, like where I sleep at, there's no time. I don't observe my clock running. I don't know what time it is until I get up. And that's a Native American paradigm. They call it 0 point time. Even Native Americans know it's a quantum field you work with when you dream away. They say we live someplace else, and we actually have avatars in the higher realms. And when we go to sleep here, we die and we work there. And I have vivid memories about working there and bringing information back to here.
Yeah.
I got tandem axle drive for the diesels. That is a winner for every Greyhound bus on the planet. Everybody who's a bus on the planet would jump to have that. So it'll make a profit for it. So we talked about that 40-year battery, man, on the pre-show. Well, it costs $100, and you got 7 billion people. So you sell everybody on the planet a 40-year battery, you have $700 billion, man. Who needs to keep going and roll over profit margin? The supply side economics where stuff dies or gets ruined, and you got to go buy a new one. It's beyond me, and that's part of the battle we're fighting now. The economic change, the information change, and the spiritual change.
Yeah.
The people who do this blood sacrifice don't have the seal of God. You only have 3 chakras. There's 3 chakras to work with, and that's basically the 3 responsible for survival: eating, making love, and defecating. That's all they have. Yeah, it's called the seal of God. That's in the book too, and I've been able to translate it pretty much since about 2016 on a steady basis. I get a lot from other people from on Facebook. It'll trigger memory, I know what that means. I know what that means, the seal of God. I know what that means. We all have 7 chakras. The crown chakra, goes from the sacral chakra, which actually is by the scrotum and by the vagina on the lady, and it goes 7 all the way up to the top of the head, and the 7th one's the crown chakra, and that's how it's the plumb line in Ezekiel too, the straight up plumb line, to be able to speak to Creator God and everything in between. It's a lightning rod. It's actually an antenna, and it's a transceiver and a transmitter. If you can get your chakras lined up and use the spirit work and work in the zero quantum field with time dilation, I've seen it, man. I went back 17,000 years ago. I died for saying no to child sacrifice, and it's on the North American continent too. It happened here, so I can say it happened here. So the timeline is being lied about. All the information is being lied about to hide the controllers, the 1.25% of humanity that do this stuff to us, and they actually dilate time by going back to about, age 9 months or so, or 6 months. Well, actually, they put them they do body switches out. They switch out bodies now.
Yeah.
That's how somebody got in my family. They'll do it. They'll put a body like it's a mold put into a family. So they go back in time. It's the same dude. Looks a little bit different. That died supposedly a few years ago, but he actually would be born the same year in somebody else's family. And that's how they hide it. That's how they get away with it.
Wow. You know what?
So time dilation exists in the quantum field and near the black holes. I've never been to a black hole, but down here I can describe it as somebody that retards their aging process and actually goes back in time. Now, Max Spears said this adrenochrome it takes 30 years off your life in 6 months.
Wow.
So if you're 66 years old, a year you can be back at age 6.
Yeah.
With this adrenochrome therapy,
That's absolutely right. Absolutely right.
You look at George W. Bush in his second administration of fetal stem cell research. And what was his saying? He said, "There shall be no fetal stem cell research." And there's the key right there. Stem cells are the building blocks of every organ, every particle in your body, and they're using it to live forever. And we're dying at 100 years old. Tops of that.
Well, I know I'm pretty sure there's people behind the scenes that we don't know their names. There's nobody famous in politics and business, but there's people that nobody's ever heard of that use these, and they found a way to extend their life for an unlimited amount of time.
The Council of Nicene has been doing that. They're in charge of that stuff. They're beneath the Vatican. I'm not sure Pope Francis knows they're even there. They're way down in a dark cave. I put my body down there one time, observed them run a round table. And the Council of Nicene owns every man, woman, child, every piece of property, every piece of merchandise on the earth. They are the controllers of planet Earth. The Council of Nicene is called.
The Council of Nicene.
Yeah, Nicene.
Interesting.
Nicene, Nicene.
Wow. I've heard about it. I'm definitely going to have to look that up and do some more research on that, because that is a very intriguing topic. Very intriguing.
I only remote viewed 4 members down there, but there are probably more once. And I was actually a member of that crew, and they killed me for saying no.
Wow.
It is what it is.
That's crazy. What? I know it sounds wild, but just like in the past, when they called it wild, decades later, guess what? Stuff came out to be true. Like when they used to laugh at the whole New World Order conspiracy theory, and then all of a sudden years later the news starts talking about it. They slowly trickle that information in, and now everybody's like, oh yeah, the New World Order. Well, yeah, no shit, we've been telling you that for decades, and you used to laugh at it, but now you're finally admitting it.
Well, I have to use word magic and the Bush family again. HW's speech where he posited this, and this is his exact words: "What we have here is a chance for a new order, a new world," and that's when it began. That's when during his State of the Union speech. I forget which year it was, but it was during
I remember that
presidency. Yeah, and that was code for saying we're on to the new world order now. We're doing it now.
Well, and I want to let our audience know too. You can go on YouTube, type in George H.W. Bush, New World Order, and you'll see his speech. You'll see the clip of when he says that at the State of the Union, where he talks about ushering in a new world order, and it's right there on video. We're not making this shit up.
Yeah, yeah. So they got to tell you what they're going to do when they're going to do it. If you don't catch it, it's your fucking sad luck.
I know.
It's the way you look at it too, man. We're cattle to them. We're here to support their economic system and their opulent lifestyles.
Well, that's absolutely right. Absolutely right.
The wealth trickled down economics never trickled down to my family. I grew up out of eating out of the damn garbage, man. I still do occasionally,
That's too funny, Ashira.
It's how you survive, man. It's how you gotta survive somehow.
Yeah, that's true, brother.
I received a fixed income of $1,000 a month SSDI because of my childhood trauma deal, the CPTSD.
Yeah.
From being part of the North American Manboy Love Association, which was a preamble to Pizzagate. And when we're talking about all these children going missing, that's what it's called. It's called Pizzagate. Go onto YouTube and go Pizzagate it, man. You come up with kinds of crazy shit, man.
Oh, it's there. It's public knowledge now.
I work with Lady V with Higher Realm Holistics. Lauren Pritchard, your spiritual advisor. We work the same angle.
Yeah.
There's a lady, Elizabeth April, on YouTube that works the same angle. And she put out last year when Black Lives Matter. It was actually Plan B. It should have been All Lives Matter, or Babies' Lives Matter, not just Black Lives, because we're all children once. Every one of us. Black, red, yellow, tan, white. We were all, children at one time,
Well, that's exactly right.
Yeah, I remember being a child. I remember, riding my BMX bike down in the desert out there. There's a highway at now. I remember that kind of stuff. I had a good time,
Yeah.
But it's one of those things you have to be ready to understand it and take it all in. And it's such a big picture, man. It's mind-boggling.
Well, you know what? I want to run something past you. And this is a hot topic nowadays. It's actually 2 hot topics. And I know it's not just happening because it's an issue. I personally believe, and I actually do think, it's a big distraction, and the media is pushing it to hide a other stories that are out there, but the two main issues are this whole racial injustice stuff that was going on all of last year, but now the most recent thing is this whole cancel culture bullshit. And I think it's a huge distraction from what's going on behind the scenes. What's your take on that?
Racial injustice has been going on since the murder of MLK, which was the black man's Moses. I mean, that's how long it's been going on. The war on poverty was actually a war on the impoverished. You know? And as far as the cancel culture goes, she got bad, man. She was a damn life goes dark. I'm going to the damn mountains to find me a stream. I got me a seed pack. I'm ready to go, you know?
Yeah.
That's a cancel culture. It's like tune in and drop out. Tune out. What did Timothy Leary put it pretty well. He put it like tune in and drop out to the LSD high. And that's one of those things that increases the consciousness of humanity, you know, and consciousness is everything to these people. I meet with them daily. I go to sleep in the middle of the day, we'll have conversations, you know, about cataclysmic events and new technology and things like that of that nature.
Yeah.
So like the cancel culture, I don't believe in it because
it's bullshit, isn't it?
Yeah. They want to destroy everything.
Like you got Mr. Potato Head, you got all this bullshit. It's Dr. Seuss. Are you fucking shitting me? Are you shitting me? Who's offended by that? Oh my gosh.
I grew up with Dr. Seuss. He's pretty cool, man.
Man, and you know what? He was good because he helped you learn to read because everything kind of rhymed in a way.
Yeah. And my visions come in rhyming parables and stuff, you know. And
yeah.
Christ told me one day, if you don't rhyme, it ain't divine, you know.
That's true.
I met him 4 times in the 0 point field in my dreamland. You know, he's like, you will find a living water. The skull in the sky is real. That's where new Earth starts. It's like not a black hole, but it's actually where Earth separates from these controllers somehow.
Yeah.
They're left behind to deal with their own shit, and everybody else goes into a rapture. It's called the rapture. Was called. And Yellow Rose for Texas put a video out last week. It coincided my theory and what I'm working with. We all step off the planet, it gets destroyed, and we all step back on it, you know? How long it takes, I don't know. It could be 10 minutes, it could be 10 hours, it could be 10 years.
Yeah. That's true.
The rapture is real. It's coming up soon.
Hey, so Ashira,
I'm not sure it's hot.
I just want to ask you, Ashira, are there any other specific topics you would like to discuss or things you would like to say to the audience?
Well, the information I have didn't come cheap at a traumatic childhood. It's called the sodomite way. The Masons do it to 5-year-old boys. They crack the psyche, and they hope something good comes in it, but they're getting something bad. Like what happened to me happened to James Holmes, the Lord Colorado, 𝗪𝗠𝗪𝗕𝗓, the Columbine twins. My specific mission was University of North Carolina, where the Korean kid chained the classroom shut and shot them all. And I get a vision about George W. Bush going, here's some locks for your chains. You know, you missed your famous point, dude. Now, you know, they got to deal with you again. And it's I could probably write a book where lone gunmen come from. The JFK today, and the actual first lone gunman was Austin, Texas, the tower shooter in August of 1963. And it's a big dysfunction on humanity. It fills the prisons up, it fills the jails up, it fills the institutions up, the psych wards and the hospitals, because it's childhood trauma. I've gotten a vision about George H.W. Bush's 30-meter body stomping all over Anaheim, California. What's in Anaheim, California? Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm.
Yep.
Right, where children go. And that metaphor was just a metaphor for him being a mover and shaker, a giant of the reality we live in. They're no longer 30 meters tall. They're actually the movers and the shakers, the decision makers in our reality. And that's what gives us all our dysfunction. And the controls of reality are either going to be on the way out, or they're going to start helping us out. You know, it's one of those things that the time dilation is about to stop. Right now, we're in Revelations where a third of the Pacific Ocean is thick with plastic and Fukushima waste. I get to my dad's house in New Hampshire. He goes, yeah, there's another one of those out in the Atlantic. All right, so you got two cesspools of plastic that I can see. What about the Indian Ocean? There's 3 right there, and that's in Revelations. Those third of the oceans could actually possibly be dead, and they know about this stuff. And right now, they're hiding in Denver, Dulce, and China Lake Complex. And it's one of those things, how do you get them to come out and share the resources and share the information? And they don't want to right now.
Yeah. But they eventually will, I'm sure. Well, it'll all come to light eventually. It slowly is.
Yeah.
But it's speeding up.
Yeah, so I try to cite my sources. You know, I don't want, I sound like a crazy man by myself.
So I just want to tell our audience, everything Ashira has been talking about and we've been talking about, just go on YouTube. Go on YouTube.
Yeah.
You'll see all the videos, and not just somebody making a video. You'll see the actual video clips of these high politicians, including like President H.W. Bush, talking about this stuff. Just go search it. It's all there.
Yeah. It's one of those things that you can find out, let your fingers do the walking, you know, and figure it out yourself. It's kind of, you know, it might give you some trauma. It might make you think. It might say, holy shit, man, I have to give this guy a hand somehow, and become part of the movement.
Yeah. Well, hey, Ashira, I got to start wrapping this up here. Is there anything else that you would like to say, or anything we possibly missed? Dude, the world can't. I tell you what, these discussions can go on and on for hours. There's just so much information. So much information.
It's mind-boggling. There's tons and tons and tons and tons of information, and if you want to know about information, you must be open to most things and having your paradigm change and your brainwashing, you know, released from your psyche. They make us forget who we are and what we're supposed to do here by making us busy. My best, well, I had a good time today. It's my first like real live interview. You know, my very, very first one. I'm actually going to be on somebody's channel. I have some kind of audience. I see you got 17.2 thousand members. That's going to be good, you know. Yeah,
well, you know what? This radio show it's video. I'm going to start working on a way to get the guest on video, but I like the audio because I especially focus on those truck drivers at nighttime. But I'm trying to work my way up to kind of like doing what Art Bell did. Not like him. No one can replace the great Art Bell. He was one of a kind. But I want to be that place where we just don't talk to legitimate people. I want to talk to regular people, you know, that had experiences such as yourself, because you're you're the voice for the average individual. Now, I do have shows where I talk to doctors and things like that because we're talking about a certain subject matter. You know, that's totally different. But I like talking to individuals such as myself, you know, and because you learn a lot from those folks. And
you say you talk to yourself.
Oh yeah,
Einstein used to talk to himself, man. He called it thinking out loud. So there's some intelligence in that, you know.
Yeah,
I talk to myself sometimes. Yeah.
Hey Elijah, what are you doing? I'm interviewing. I'm interviewing my guest Ashira. So yeah, I'll be back with you.
Yeah, I have to take time out with my higher self, man. You know, here's something. If people want to know about how I got on my journey, you should go on Google and put The Fundamentals of Esoteric Knowledge by 𝗍𝗍𝗓. Gene spelled JEAN DUBIUS, PDF format, 1984. And for the other stuff, my Akashic, the same author, it's called The Experience of Eternity. And that's where the Akashic comes from. So, like, I have hard documents I draw from, you know, and to me it's real. You know, it's like I want to believe with Fox Mulder or Morpheus, like he talks to Trinity when Neo's like he believes he's going to be the man, you know. If you believe in it, like there's people that deal with the internet, they don't believe in UFOs. Well, if you don't believe in them, they're not going to believe in you. You know, you believe in Jesus Christ, don't you? He believes in you, right? So you don't believe in aliens being benevolent to the malevolent, they're not going to contact you. You know, they're going to say, "Oh, this guy's asleep. We're not going to use him. We use Daniel or Elijah or Ashira or Tim or Benjamin or Lauren or 𝗟𝗓𝗕𝗦𝗧. They're going to use them because they're awake and they're doing something. They have access. You know, they're doing work for the cause. They're doing work for the cause. And to sum it up, we are the ones we waited for. We have to pull ourselves out of this quagmire, spread the word, spread the information, get it out there, and spark people to do their own research.
Well, that's true. People, you know what? People are so distracted, and I understand, you know, a lot of people don't want to get involved in this stuff, which, you know what, I can agree with. I get it. They just want to put it on the back burner. But your average educated individuals such as yourself, myself, and others, you know what? It's our job to talk about this stuff. I mean, how else is it going to get out there? You know, if someone just wants to play their video games, you know, I'm all good with that, okay, to block out reality. But there's so much shit going on in society nowadays to distract us. It side trails everybody, and luckily we have individuals such as you, Ashira, that stay on track and stay on these points to talk about this stuff. And I'm really glad that you do that, including the others out there that do this as well, because it's important stuff. It really is.
It is important. I get up every morning. I check my intel reports from Tim Emsley, Benjamin Fulford, Lauren Pritchard. I check what they're putting out, you know, and I if I have something to add to it, I'll put my notes in my Facebook feed, and I'll cite the source on my YouTube channel. I got a couple of them that I cuss and I swear and I cry, and it's all the information I talk about now, but way more of it, you know.
Yeah. Well, Ashira,
so if you like,
what's that?
If you like, you know, I could use some subscribers. I'll
but you know what? If you can do something for me, message me your channels or any resources you would like me to share, and I will share those for you. So our audience can subscribe and check them out, because I'm pretty sure you have some great stuff and probably some up and coming good stuff. Or just send me whatever you think's going to be important that you'd like to share, and I'll get that out there for you.
All right, I'll probably take a while. I could probably have it done by sometime tonight. But
no, it's all good, Ashira. That's A-okay, right. Whenever you want. But if I could have you stay on the line while I end this, but I really appreciate you being with me today, Ashira. I'm definitely going to have you back again, because you provide a lot of great insight on these topics, and for our future shows and when we talk again, I know there's a lot of other stuff that we can discuss also. But it's been an honor, and but if you could hold on the line for a minute, I'd appreciate it.
All right, there, Elijah. I want to say thank you, man. This is my first big interview ever.
No, it's all good, brother.
I appreciate you giving me the time.
No, it's my honor, and just wait with me for one moment.
All right.
So that was Ashira. Very interesting and fun guy to talk to. He had a lot of insight. I actually found him on a YouTube group, and I was actually looking for individuals that wanted to talk. And Ashira has a lot of knowledge, as you can see and hear, and fantastic guest to talk to. Fantastic guest. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure you check the description below. I will be providing information from Ashira as he sends it to us. But in the meantime, I am Mr. Cyber for Mysterious Realms, and I look forward to talking to you on the next show. Until then, y'all stay cool. Peace.